What's up guys, JV2017 here, and I'm bringing you a new Fallout 4 tips and tricks video. And today we are continuing my character build series with Deadpool, easily one of the most hilarious and overpowered comic book characters out there. So in honor of his new movie, which is coming out pretty much tomorrow or the next day, I thought it would be awesome to take a crack at a Deadpool build and share it with you all. Before the video, I want to point out that I'm in no way an authority on what Deadpool can or cannot do. I'm not really a comic book expert. It's not my area of expertise. Fortunately, I do have a group of friends that know a lot more about him than I do, so I did gain a lot more insight into Deadpool's skills, abilities, and such through them. So it seems to me if we had the option, this build would start with 10 points in every special category. He's just that powerful, but we can't do that, so I had to pick and choose with this build and kind of work with what we have. Now before we begin, I do want to point out that this is my interpretation of a Deadpool build. I'm sure there are plenty of other ideas out there, so if you'd like to share your version of this character, feel free to do so in the comment section below. I tried to strike a balance between being true to Deadpool, but also trying to make this build viable, fun, and interesting to play in the game, so I hope you all will enjoy. The three traits that I use to characterize my Deadpool build are that he's regenerative. That's kind of the big thing with Deadpool. He can regenerate his health, and so you shoot off his arm, it's going to grow back. You chop off his head, it's going to take a while, but it's going to grow back. He's ridiculously overpowered in that sense, and so he can regenerate his health. That's something that's going to be reflected in this build. Also, of course, he is a mercenary. He's a gun for hire, and he has done a lot of things in the universe, but being a mercenary, having a lot of weaponry, that's something that you'll see in this build. And also the fact that he's a marksman. He's very good with his guns, and so that'll be reflected throughout this build as well. And I tried to incorporate humor a little bit, but it's hard to make a funny character in this game. They didn't really incorporate that. Kind of our characters are really kind of shoehorned into a certain kind of way. I guess you could be sarcastic in every single conversation, and that could be humorous, but beyond that, there's not much more we could do, but I tried to incorporate that as much as I could. Taking a look at his special stats, we're going with a 1 strength, 5 perception, 3 endurance, 6 charisma, 3 intelligence, 9 agility, and 3 luck build. And this is, of course, a 30-point build, including the 1 perception bobblehead very early in the game that everyone should, get. I'm assuming that. And also the extra point from the special book in the Soul Survivor's house. Just some things to note with this special spread. It was kind of hard for me to make. Obviously, Deadpool has his katanas, and I didn't really reflect that in this build. Again, it's hard. It's easy to spread yourself thin and be mediocre in a lot of categories. That's something you might want to change. I also tried to reflect his humor through his charisma as much as I could, but 6 is pretty much the limit I wanted to go without just wasting points in charisma. But of course, I focused on agility and perception as well for explosives and his gunplay. The idea here is to really focus on signature perks, but also to focus into luck and really kind of flesh out luck into the later levels in order to really make this build powerful. That's pretty much the key to a lot of offensive builds, and that's the same case here. The signature perks that I chose for Deadpool are Demolition Expert, Life Giver, Lone Wanderer, Gun Nut, and Gun Fu. And we're going to take a look at each of these one by one in the perk chart right now. First is Demolition Expert, and Deadpool loves to blow stuff up. He loves explosions and all things of that sort, and so Demolition Expert was an obvious choice here, and really the only reason we went up to Perception 5 with our special. So with each rank, you'll get 25% more damage, and some really cool kind of things like a grenade arc, larger area of effect and damage, being able to shoot stuff out of the air in vats, which is really cool and, would seem like something that Deadpool can do. And so Demolition Expert is a natural signature perk for our Deadpool. So is Life Giver. Fortunately, the last rank of Life Giver allows us to slowly regenerate lost health. And so this is pretty much how we can simulate what Deadpool is able to do. So with each rank, you're going to get a little more maximum health, which is pretty good. And then you'll be able to regenerate lost health at level 20. This is really awesome that we get this really early in the game, so you can kind of feel the effects of that very early on with a Deadpool character. Lone Wanderer is another thing I wanted to do with Deadpool because it doesn't seem to me that he really rolls around with a lot of people very much, and so it would make sense that Lone Wanderer is something super important for Deadpool as well, and it's just really strong, and Deadpool is a really strong character, within his comic book and in the universe, at least to my knowledge, and so Lone Wanderer is extremely good. You're going to take less damage. At the last rank, you're going to deal 25% more damage as long as you're not traveling with a companion, so very, very solid perk there, and I think it makes sense for Deadpool as well. Gun Nut is another thing that makes sense for Deadpool, in my opinion. He's got a huge arsenal, and I think that Gun Nut, you know, is just a natural thing to have with a huge arsenal. And so with each rank, you're going to gain, you know, another pretty much set of gun mods, and they're going to get better and better and better as you rank Gun Nut up. And so Gun Nut is definitely a signature perk for our Deadpool. And then finally, Gun Fu. So Gun Fu all the way down at agility 10. This isn't something we're going to be able to get just through our special stats, and it's something I kind of explained already. We're going to have to work into this, and so over time you're going to have to add, you know, additional points into agility in order to get down to Gun Fu. But I thought this was a really important perk for him because, you know, he's very deadly, he's very efficient, very powerful. And so Gun Fu is kind of like, you know, you set up all of these enemies that you have in front of you and you just knock them down just one after another, and you get that extra damage with each subsequent target that you're targeting in VATS. And I thought that was a really cool kind of a gameplay mechanic that would fit well with Deadpool. Now you may be wondering, where are the gun-based perks? And honestly, with Deadpool, it seems like he's got such a large arsenal that it's really tough to settle on one thing. And something I did not focus on in this build with Deadpool is his katanas, his swords. He does have those, but it's really hard to make a, you know, a viable, you know, gun-based character and a melee-based character. I know that's pretty much what he is, but it's very hard to do, and I just chose to stick to the gun-based aspect of his character. However, I am going to recommend that you guys pick one or two of the gun-based perks. So that's going to be like Rifleman, Gunslinger, or Commando. You know, kind of a combination of these. If you want to pick one, that's cool. If you want to pick two, that's cool as well, to kind of, you know, simulate the variety that he has. As you can tell, with my level 50 Deadpool, I took him pretty far into his build. I went with Gunslinger, and the reason is I found a really cool gun mod that you'll be seeing throughout the video that I'll share later in the video, you know, for a Glock, basically. So a pretty cool kind of modern looking gun that Deadpool would use. That's what I use, and that was really fun to use, and that's why I went with Gunslinger. But really, pick a combination of these and you should be good to go. Let's look at some additional perks that either make sense for Deadpool or just help out with the build. I thought Lady Killer was a nice kind of thing because it's hard to make a character, you know, witty or, you know, funny in this game. You really can't role play in that sense, unfortunately. And so I tried, you know, to reflect that by putting Deadpool at least, you know, Charisma 6. You know, that pretty much was the tipping point for me. I didn't want to go further because that would take away from other aspects of his build. But Lady Killer is something that you can, you know, reflect that with. And I think, you know, you're able to persuade, you know, female humans more easily. I think that just makes sense. And so if you want to role play in that sense, Lady Killer is a good idea. You also get that damage boost, but there's not a lot of human females that you can fight in the game, unfortunately. So really the point of taking this is the persuasion, you know, kind of aspect of this perk. Moving on, Action Boy is definitely something that would help you out. When you're facing large groups of enemies, your action points are regenerating quicker. We've already got a ton of action points, but more does not hurt us. You know, it can only help, and so Action Boy makes sense as well. So does Moving Target. A lot of what I've read about Deadpool in order to prepare for this build is that he dodges bullets like no other, and Moving Target, at least one rank in here, makes sense because if you're sprinting around, getting into position, you know, getting the right shot, you're going to have that extra damage resistance, and pretty much dodging bullets is what Moving Target is about. And so Moving Target is something that makes sense for Deadpool. And then finally, we're pretty much going down the luck tree here. Bloody Mess is something, obviously, that I recommend with almost every offensive base build. You get extra damage in combat, so Bloody Mess, you know, seeing things explode, that's kind of a wacky sort of thing that might fit with Deadpool as a character, so Bloody Mess makes sense. Idiot Savant is something else that I think kind of makes sense. It kind of breaks the fourth wall. It makes this weird kind of noise, and you know, get extra XP, and that's kind of what Deadpool's about, breaking that fourth wall. I didn't take Idiot Savant in this playthrough, but this is a low intelligence playthrough, this build here, and so you could take this, and it would definitely benefit you. If you go ahead and do what I did and didn't take Idiot Savant, it's going to take a while to level up because, you know, you're running low intelligence and you don't have Idiot Savant. So if, you know, leveling up quickly is something you care about or efficiently, then I definitely would take Idiot Savant as well. And then pretty much, as you can tell, I went down the row of luck perks and pretty much built into that as this, build matured. And so better criticals, critical banker, Grim Reaper sprint, and 4-leaf clover all synergize really well together, are fantastic. With Grim Reaper sprint, you're going to, have a chance to restore your action points, have a chance of filling your critical meter, being able to save criticals, and having more critical damage all work together to be very, very potent and powerful. And that's the whole point of Deadpool. You want to feel really powerful. And so, investing in all of these perks eventually as you move into your build is going to be a really good idea. Now that we have all those perks in mind, let's look at what I call the perk roadmap, which is the first 10 levels, pretty much our plan for which perks we're going to take in order to establish this character's playstyle. So first off, we're going to take Life Giver at level 2. I mean, we might as well do that because we get the second rank at level 8, which is what we're going to take pretty much as soon as possible. Again, we want his regenerative abilities as soon as possible, and we get them at level 20. So you just want to make sure and take Life Giver as soon as possible. That's a good way to start out and some extra, survivability early in the game, especially on higher difficulties. At level 3, I would go ahead and take Demolition Expert. Again, we are going to be using explosives. It's kind of going to be a mix of gunplay and explosives, and so establishing that playstyle early is super important. Same with level 4. I would go ahead and take your first gun perk. So whether that's Commando, Rifleman, or Gunslinger, whatever you chose, go ahead and take that to establish your playstyle and get a little boost with those types of weapons. At level 5, it's a good idea to take Gun Nut so that you can actually customize whatever arsenal you chose, whether that's with your explosive weapons or whatever automatic, semi-automatic weapons you went with. Gun Nut definitely helps out with that. At level 6, Lone Wanderer is a very powerful perk early in the game, and so level 6 seems like a nice point to take that. You take less damage, you're able to carry more things, overall just very helpful, and Deadpool really does, kind of roll on his own for the most part, so it makes sense there. At level 7, we're going to go ahead and take Agility Training, and this is to get to Gun Fu, which is what we're going to take at level 9. But before that, I would go ahead at level 8 and take Life Giver. Like I said before, that's the first rank. You can have it at its rank 2. It's your first level. You can have it at rank 2 at level 8. So it's a good idea to take it there. And then at level 9, once again, Gun Fu is a very powerful perk. So you're able to run into large crowds of people and be able to take them out very efficiently. That's what Gun Fu is great for. That's its purpose and kind of the highlight of this build from a combat standpoint for Deadpool. Then finally at level 10, it's the first level that rank 2 of Demolition Expert is available. So go ahead and take rank 2 of Demolition Expert to increase your viability with explosives to 50% more than normal. The general playstyle for this build is really unique. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what you're going to be doing in combat, but it's pretty much a mix of using your arsenal of weapons, whatever you chose, and also explosives to kill enemies with efficiency, as fast as you possibly can, with as much damage as you possibly can. And that's the point of working into, agility and then eventually luck. You're going to be dealing plenty of damage with your weapons of choice and your explosives. We didn't go for big guns, and that's something that I realize might be, another way to take this build. You could go heavy into strength and then, be able to incorporate swords and also big guns, but I decided to go for more of our smaller arms with a large arsenal for Deadpool. And so pretty much you want to use your arsenal, all of your weapons, and just blow people up, have fun, run around, be crazy. That's pretty much what Deadpool's about. Have fun. Here are a few recommendations for signature weapons for this Deadpool build. First off, you could go ahead and get the Overseer's Guardian, a very solid weapon all around. Normally it comes automatic, so if you took Commando as your gun perk, that's a really good idea to go with this. Or you could go ahead and modify it with Gun Nut to make it semi-auto and use Rifleman. It could go either way, but it's one of the best rifles in the game. You could also go with the Deliverer. The Deliverer is pretty much the tried and true pistol of the game. If you took Gunslinger, that makes sense. Also, if you're on PC, you could try this mod that I found called Glock 20 Pistol by Z06 Frank. It's a very awesome looking pistol. It's just modern looking, and it makes more sense for Deadpool to be rolling around with a Glock than, one of these old-timey pistols or the Deliverer, really, in my opinion. So if you're on PC, you can, use that. That's a really cool idea. And I left a link to the mod in the description below. In terms of explosive weapons, I've pretty much got two recommendations for you. I've got the Party Starter or the Big Boy, and both of them are very good, unique explosive weapons. The Party Starter is a missile launcher that has 50% more damage towards humans. Pretty good modifier considering a lot of the enemies that you're facing in the game are human. So that's a really good missile launcher to get. You could also go with the Big Boy, which of course is the Fat Man that shoots an additional projectile. Really insane. Both of these cost quite a lot of caps. You could go with just a regular missile launcher in the early game, and then once you got plenty of caps, you can go ahead and buy one of these. But they're both very viable options. And also, I've got guides for the Overseer's Guardian and the Big Boy already on my channel. So I've linked both of those those in the description below if you want to know more about those weapons individually, then you can find there. That's a pretty good resource for you to check out. Now let's talk about the signature appearance, which is also a mod. Unfortunately, there's no suit in the game or a hood that actually makes you look like Deadpool. You have to use a mod, and that's what I'm using right here. So this is called the Standalone Deadpool by FG Module, and I've left the link in the description below if you guys want to check it out on PC. It's really good. Honestly, it takes, I think, the BOS officer suit, reskins that, and then also takes the sack hood. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the sack hood with the gas mask. Kind of, it looks really terrible, kind of like Scarecrow, basically. But they retextured that to pretty much give you, you know, the look of Deadpool's mask, his hood. So it's really cool to kind of roll around, and you really do look a lot like Deadpool. So both the standalone Deadpool and, you know, Glock 20 pistol mods are awesome. Big thanks to FG Module and Zeo6 Frank. Go ahead and check those guys out on Nexus Mods. They're very cool. If you're on PC, you should definitely download them and check them out. Since I decided to go ahead with Lone Wanderer, we're not taking companions, so that pretty much means that we're at the end of the video, and I'd like to know, after watching, will you play this Deadpool build? Does this look like something that's fun, interesting, exciting to play, you know, something that's exciting to play around, you know, the release of the Deadpool movie, and how would you build this character differently? Like I said, I think there's a very clear alternative. You could go more strength-based, you know, for heavy gunner with heavy weapons. That makes sense if you want more damage with explosive weapons as well, or, you know, also for melee combat with the swords. That's also kind of a big hole in my own build. You know, I'm able to criticize. I can see that my own build has some flaws, so that's one of them here, but I do think it's very strong for a gun-based Deadpool and very fun to play with. I can definitely vouch personally for that. As you see, I'm having fun playing with him here. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this, and also suggest a new character for me to build in a future build guide. I'm kind of, you know, running out of ideas, I will say, running a little bit dry, so if you guys have some cool ideas for me to build characters, please mention them in the comment section below. Share all of your thoughts below. Alright guys, today I showed you how to make a Deadpool regenerative mercenary anti-hero character build in Fallout 4. Next time we'll cover more Fallout on my channel, so stay tuned for Fallout 4 tips and tricks videos. And if you learned something new, remember to hit that like button, I would really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe for more unique weapon guides, build guides, and general tips and tricks videos. Talk to you guys next time. Peace!